So good to be together. So good to see your lovely faces. I just want to shout out Pam and Ralph Neighbor who are in the room. For those of you, some of you who have been with Mosaic for over 20 years or been here for a longer time, they led my wife and I through premarital counseling, and they forever impacted our marriage. And so what a treat that you all are here this morning. Pastor Kim is in the house. Can we just give it up for Pastor Kim? and always doing just life-changing things, just casually. Yes, I'm here with a guest from India, and it's so beautiful. I strive to live an adventurous life the way Pastor Kim does, because her life is just, there's no predicting, there's no way you can plan that. It's just God moving in her life. And so I have an important question for all of you in the room. Where do you stand on removing shoes in the house or not when you invite guests? Do you say off? Some are fine with it. It's a contentious issue, I've learned through marriage. Because that was something that I think that at first I learned Brooke and I weren't exactly aligned on. You know, she was okay with just asking people to remove their shoes when they come in. I, as a grown man, it was hard for me to ask another grown man to take off his shoes, right? Like, if you're a guy and I'm a guy and I ask you to take off your shoes, then our relationship just went up a level. You know, some reason we feel more familiar, we just feel closer. Is it a dinner party or is it a sleepover? What's happening? You know, because it seems trivial, but there's a lot of weight to shoes. There's a lot of meaning behind shoes. I mean, you go to a restaurant, right? And they'll refuse service if you have no shirt and no shoes, right? They don't have to say no pants, because no pants gets you arrested, right? No pants is a crime. No shoes is not a crime, but it's an issue. It's something that we need to discuss, and we need to talk about. You know, women understand this, I feel like, more intuitively than men. You know, women will get pedicures. They know if I'm going to go open-toe sandal, everything's going to be presentable. We're going to put our best foot forward. I just thought of that right now. But guys tend to be more clueless. They'll be like, it's fine if I wear flip-flops, right? It's not fine. It isn't. But aside from, you know, talking about restaurant etiquette and when you invite people over into your house, across cultures, removing your shoes has significance. Different cultures have different values for when it comes to taking off your shoes. And in the scriptures as well, there's a way to removing your shoes. In fact, I would say that in the scriptures there are some key pivotal moments in people's lives. And there are moments that I like to call the no shoes allowed moments. And it's the same for us. There are moments in our lives that change our lives, that have a profound impact on our lives, and they are no shoes allowed moments. So I want us to look at the story of a man named Joshua. And he has a no shoes allowed moment in perhaps one of the most pivotal points of his life. So I want to share that with you. If you look at the book of Joshua, chapter 5, verse 13, it says, "Now when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, 'Are you for us or for our enemies?' 'Neither,' he replied. 'But as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come.' Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence and asked him, 'What message does my Lord have for his servant?' The commander of the Lord's army replied, 'Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy.' And Joshua did so." So some context or some backdrop as to what's happening in this moment. Joshua, at this point in time, is now the leader of Israel, the leader of the nation of Israel. He is the successor to Moses, the Moses. He's now need to step into Moses' shoes. There's going to be a lot of shoe puns here this morning. I feel it. But he's in this moment. He now leads the nation of Israel. And not only is he leading them, but they are about to enter into the promised land. You see, the Israelites, they were freed from slavery, and then they were in the wilderness, and they wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. A whole generation has come and gone, and now Joshua is leading the new generation into the promised land. They've been hearing about the promised land their entire lives. So it's a big deal what's going to happen. And already at this point in the story, several things have happened. Moses has died. God says to Joshua, Joshua, you're up. And he tells him over and over, don't be afraid, because Joshua was very afraid. Because who wouldn't? I need to lead 4 million people now into this promised land that we've been hearing about since we were kids. And not only that, but then they miraculously cross the Jordan River. They send spies, and they notice the first city that they're going to conquer, the first city in this promised land, and that's the city of Jericho. So they're getting ready for this important battle where this whole thing that they've been talking about their whole lives is about to start to happen. The conquering of the promised land. The promised land is actually going to be delivered to them. The reason I share all of this with you is I want you to imagine the pressure Joshua has to be feeling in this moment. The next day he knows we're going to Jericho. It's happening. And I'm the guy. It's on me now to lead the people of Israel. So then it's in this context, we see here in verse 13. Now when Joshua was near Jericho, so they're just about to execute their plan, to do everything that they need to do to seize the city of Jericho. And it's in that moment that all of a sudden Joshua notices what's called the commander of the Lord's army. And you know who the commander of the Lord's army is? The Lord. So he has this moment with God right before he's about to go into battle. And then they have this conversation. So you would have to ask yourself, what kind of conversation would God have with you before facing the most important battle of your life? That's what's happening now for Joshua. Joshua sees, all of a sudden notices this man who reveals himself to be God, and then he is stunned. But I think that there's a lot for us to learn in this conversation. There's 3 things I want you to take away. In order to succeed, in order to really step into the plan that God has for you, in order to win the battle that God has set before you, there's 3 things I want you to take with you. The first is you need to be humble, be present, and be open. First, let's start with being humble. Be humble, as Kendrick would say. It's astounding to me, this first exchange. See, because Joshua sees a man carrying a sword, and he asks him a very logical question. He says, are you for us or for our enemies? Because I can imagine Joshua doesn't probably recognize all 4 million soldiers or all 2 million soldiers, whatever the amount is. He might be wondering, are you on our side or are you their side? And then the Lord says something that is baffling to me. He tells him, neither. I don't know how you pronounce it. Neither. The point is, I'm not on your side, and I'm not on their side. I'm the commander of the Lord's armies. It sounds epic, but also doesn't make sense to me. Because if there was a side that I would think God is on, it would be Israel and Joshua. I mean, wasn't it God who brought them out of Egypt, who's been leading them this whole time, who told Joshua, you're going to lead the Israelites now? And then in this moment, right before the battle, Joshua asked him the question, whose side are you on, them or our side? And God says, neither. Not on your side. I'd be like, oh, then we're done here. What are you doing here then? What do you mean you're not on my side? Then let's call it off. Forget it. We're going back. It's like it's an incredible moment, because what we learn here is that God does not fit your agenda. God does not fit your paradigm. What does that look like for us today? It's very simple. God is not a Republican. Some of you are already offended by that. God is not a Democrat. You know who's a Democrat? You, me. You know who's a Republican? You, me. God doesn't fit our agenda. No. God doesn't submit to our plans, to our systems. God pulls us into his purpose, into his plans. See, God is about life and light and love and humanity. That's what God is up to. God doesn't hate Jericho. God actually has a plan for the people of Jericho. In fact, some people in Jericho are spared and they are brought into Israel. You see, the plan that God has far exceeds anything that Joshua could conceptualize or imagine, and Joshua realizes it. That's why Joshua is humble. When he sees this moment where God says, I'm not on your side, I'm not on their side, what does Joshua do? He falls face down. He humbles himself before God. He says, whatever plan you have, I'm going to submit to that. Whatever intention you have, I'm going to submit to that. The question for us is, are you willing to humble yourself before God when he doesn't fit your agenda? When he doesn't fit into your plans? When he apparently is using somebody or blessing somebody or prospering somebody that should be the enemy. You're like, how is God operating in their life as well? They vote this way. They act this way. They do this. You see, God is not an us versus them God. God is not a tribal God. He is the God of the universe. And I think for us, it's hard. It's hard to practice or conceptualize humbling ourselves before God because we don't even know how to humble ourselves before each other. We don't even know what it is to submit to the people we can see, to seek the interests of the people we can see, to put other people's interests before our own. But if you want to make it, if you want to survive the battles of life, things that God has for you, you need to learn to be humble. I don't know if any of you have seen The Bear. The show The Bear, it's about a chef in Chicago who starts his own restaurant, and it's probably one of the most chaotic shows ever, right? It's constant mayhem. But one of the things I love about that show is how everybody in the staff, from the executive chef all the way to the host, to the waiters, they always address each other in a certain way. What do they say? Yes, chef. Everything, yes, chef. Yes, chef. It's like saying, like, I'm honoring you. I'm on your side. I'm for you. Recently, MSC, we had the opportunity to record some songs in this studio in Texas. And we were with this producer, and his name is Chad. And then he had an engineer assistant. His name is Felipe. And they've worked together probably for like 10 years. The producer and the engineer. And they always address each other, "Me Lord." And they say it in a funny accent every single time. They go like, "Me Lord?" Literally. And the way it works in the studio is the producer is trying to think of an arrangement or whatever, and sometimes the producer might think, I need this guitar with this speakers and this setup, or with these mics. And it's the engineer's job to go and get that ready. So we'll be working on a song or working on a idea, and all of a sudden the producer, Chad, will go, "Me Lord?" And then Felipe would just pop up and be like, "Yes, me Lord." And then they would do something. They would arrange something, they would get something together. But we would laugh every time, but it was this beautiful kind of culture of this. They would always honor each other, calling each other "my Lord." Like, how can I serve you? No, how can I serve you? How can I serve you? Well, I'm going to serve you by doing this. I'm going to serve you by doing this. Yes, me Lord. When you're in the battle, be humble. Remember, there's someone greater than you. Not only is he greater than you, but he knows a thing or two about facing battles. Listen to God. Approach God. Honor him. Before you step into the battle, Have you practiced honoring God, humbling yourself, asking God, what message does my Lord have for my servant, for your servant? Are you with me? The second thing I want us to take from this conversation is being present. Not only do you need to be humble, but you need to be present. You see, it's kind of funny to me that Joshua, logically, he realizes it's God, and then he says, what message do you have for me? And I would ask the same question. Hey, any tips? We're about to go into this battle. Is there like a secret tunnel? Is there a way that we can like avoid, that they could just surrender to us? And what's the strategy? I can imagine Joshua like putting out like a notepad or something. And then God says to him, take off your sandals. A part of me would be like, what does that matter right now? There's a battle happening. I'm stressed out of my mind. I need counsel. Who cares about my sandals? What do those matter? Here's what they matter. No shoes means no rush. It means I'm going to take my time and I'm going to be present. God knows that Joshua is about to face the greatest battle he's ever faced. And you know what God does? He basically is being like, sit here with me a moment. Let's be together for a moment. No shoes equals no rush. When you have your shoes on, it's because you're on the go, because you have things to do. My kids know this. Anytime I'm at the house and I put on my shoes, my oldest Milo, he'll be like, Dad, where are you going? He just knows. He knows if I put my shoes on, it's because I'm leaving. I'm going somewhere. And my youngest, Caleb, he already knows this so well that he actually grabs shoes from the bin and he brings them to us. He's basically telling us, like, we need to go. I got things to do. Put your shoes on. Put my shoes on. Thank you. But there's a power in being present. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves. How much of life is shoes on? We're always on the go. We always have stuff to do. We're always thinking about the next thing. We're always thinking about the things that we haven't done yet, the things that we haven't accomplished. But in this moment, God is saying, take off your shoes because you're standing on holy ground. I'm learning now, and I'm continuously practicing just to be more present with my kids and finding ways to be more present with them. One of the ways, whenever I have to do bath, I'm in charge of bath time in the house. And so with Caleb, the littlest one, I'm usually, washing him like this, right? But I've recently been practicing just kind of squatting down and being at eye level with him. And it actually, struck me. I just look at him, and he looks at me right in the eyes, and then just starts speaking a foreign language. Starts going, saying all of these things. I don't understand what it's saying, but it's mesmerizing. I can catch a word or two here, but I'm drawn into this moment being like, oh, there's something powerful about being present with him. I find myself being in awe. I find myself being like, I love this kid. I love him so much. He's hilarious. He's so cute. He's so smart. He's ours. He's our boy. But I miss out on all of that if I'm not present, if I keep my shoes on. I recently learned from this podcast, somebody was talking about the power of presence, and they talked about hospital visits. And they were saying how important it is if you visit somebody at the hospital, the first thing you need to do is you need to sit down. You need to take a seat. Because that communicates to the person that you're visiting, I'm in no rush. I'm here for you. In fact, Brooke and I were watching this show, The Pit. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's like this hospital show. Somebody really loves The Pit. That's great. It's a great show. And one of the most recent episodes we were talking about, the head doctor is telling everybody, sit down when you have your bedside manner moment. And you see him sometimes you'll see a doctor and she's like talking to a patient like this, and then he just kind of goes by her and goes like, and then she's like, and he just tells him, you'll be a better doctor for it. A few weeks ago, I had the opportunity to like put this into practice because our youth pastor, Adan, had a little bit of a health scare. Everybody's okay now. But about a month ago, he was like, oh, Adan's in the ER. And I thought I should go. But I had Caleb with me. I had my 1-year-old. So I knew that when I went to visit him, it was going to be for a short amount of time because they don't allow babies in the ER. So I had to leave him with somebody for a few moments. And I had to be there with him. And the first thing I did was I made sure I'm going to sit down when I get there. So I get there, and Adan is there with his brother-in-law, and there's a chair, and the chair has a bunch of stuff on it. And so I say, can we move this stuff? And then I just sat with Adan. And then he was telling me everything, telling me about how this happened, how he's feeling, all this stuff. We prayed together. It must have been like 10 minutes. I must have been with him for about 10 minutes. Adan eventually is released. He's okay, he's doing good, but he calls me and he tells me like, hey bro, it meant so much to me that you came to the hospital. And I know that that's because of the power of presence. I don't know if it would have had the same impact on Adan's life if I was like, oh yeah, bro, how you doing? Yeah. No, oh man, yeah, no, that's really painful, yeah. Sometimes that's how we are with God. You know, we're not present. You know, even sometimes, let's be honest, sometimes even on a Sunday morning, we come here, want to worship, want to listen to God, we want to encounter God, we want God to speak to us, but we're like, what's for lunch? Start a group chat about lunch plans. You know, all these things that distract us. Here's the reality, Mosaic. God is here. Are you? Are you here this morning? You could be physically in a room and not be present. See, there's a difference. Are you shoes on in this moment? Or have you taken off your shoes? When we come to encounter God, it's a no shoes allowed moment. And lastly, not only do we need to be present, but we need to be open. See, because taking off your shoes is kind of a vulnerable act. It's vulnerable because your feet aren't always presentable. Sometimes you're trying to not show your feet. And the reason it's your feet can be not in a great state is because of where you've been and what you've gone through. See, that's the part that is vulnerable, that is hard for us with God. We don't want to be vulnerable about where we've been or what we've gone through, what we've experienced. But God says, in the moment of holiness, take off your shoes. Because you know what holiness is? Holiness is reality in its most purest form. We think that holiness, in order to experience holiness, it's about adding ritual and adding sacrament and adding, pretense or whatnot. But it's actually all of those rituals, all of those sacraments are there to reveal reality, not to conceal it. Are you with me? You see, the purpose, holiness is showing us how things really are, what really matters. And so when God asked Joshua to remove his shoes, he's saying, I don't want any barrier in this moment. I want you to be who you really are in this moment. I don't want you to hide anything. I don't want you to pretend. I don't want you to perform. I want you to be here with me. And sometimes the reason we struggle with vulnerability is because we get the vulnerability order wrong. Let me explain to you. Here's the vulnerability order. You are your most vulnerable with God because God knows everything about you. But we still have to actually be intentional and be purposeful and say, God, here's where I'm angry. God, here are the feelings I'm experiencing right now. God, here's the things that are dark in me. Here's the things that are broken in me. Be open and transparent. And then the next order is the people closest to you. You are open with your spouse, with your kids, with your closest friends. You tell them about what you're struggling through. You tell them. And then lastly, strangers, social media. The vulnerability they should receive is this small percentage. I'm going to let you decide what number of percentage that is. But we get it all wrong. Have you seen this? Some people are this vulnerable online. They write a whole confessional about the deep, dark demons, and you check in on them, are like, hey, are you okay? And they're like, I'm fine. And you're like, okay. And then with the people closest to them, with their spouse, they'll disclose some stuff but keep it vague. And then with God, they're not vulnerable. They don't actually bring it to God. They might pray. They might even go to church. But it's all performative. It's all surface. It's all about how I should behave and how I should feel. And so I act that way. But you're not actually being vulnerable. You're not actually taking your shoes off. You see, Jesus has a no shoes allowed moment in the scriptures. In the book of John, chapter 13, Jesus is having this final dinner with his disciples before he knows he's going to be crucified. And it says, Jesus knew that the Father had put all things under his power, and that he had come from God and was returning to God. So he got up from the meal, took off his outer clothing, and wrapped a towel around his waist. And after that, he poured water into a basin and began to wash his disciples' feet, drying them with the towel that was wrapped around him. He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? Jesus replied, you do not realize now what I am doing, but later you will understand. No, said Peter, you shall never wash my feet. And Jesus answered, unless I wash you, you have no part with me. Then Lord, Simon Peter replied, not just my feet, but my hands and my head as well. I love this story because Jesus in this moment does one of the most confounding, beautiful things that someone with power can do. You see, the passage starts off saying that Jesus understood now that all authority had been given to him. And what does he do with that power? What does he do in that moment? He washes his disciples' feet. You see, Peter at first rejects. He just can't stand the fact of like Jesus being so close to his feet, being so close to what he's perhaps embarrassed of. He doesn't want God to touch that area. He doesn't want God to see that area. But here's the thing. If you want to really have a relationship with Jesus, if you want to really be close to Jesus, it's no shoes allowed. No shoes allowed. No pretense, no performance, no hiding. It's just you as you are, what you really feel, what you're really going through. Just last week, I sat with somebody from our team, great guy, wonderful human being, and we're having coffee, and he's just sharing with me about his life, and then he starts to open up about struggles he's had, his past, trauma, things that he's experienced in his life, and getting emotional as he's sharing it. And I can see in that moment that this was really hard for him. This was not easy. This was not a casual conversation. And my feeling in that moment was I felt honored. I felt honored that he would allow me to enter into this secret in his life, into the stuff that he doesn't want a lot of people to see. You see, when we confess to Jesus, when we tell Jesus, here's where I'm really at, here's what's really going on, Jesus is not judgmental. Jesus doesn't get angry. Jesus doesn't get frustrated with you. He's honored. He's grateful. He says, I'm so glad that you're telling me this. I'm so glad that you're opening up with me in this way. And the reason we need to have no shoes allowed with Jesus is because he's the only one that can wash away what we're ashamed of. He's the only one that can cleanse us. He's the only one that can take our brokenness and actually repair it. He's the only one that could take our past, what we've been through, and not erase it, not make us forget it. What he's going to do is he's going to transform it into something new, something beautiful, something unexpected. But it all begins with taking off your shoes. No shoes allowed. So I want us to take this moment right now. I want us to actually treat it as a holy moment. So I'm going to practice what I'm talking about. I'm going to remove these shoes, because I didn't share this with you, but actually when my friend was sharing with me everything he was going through, because I've been meditating on this passage, because I was thinking about this, he didn't know this, but I took off my shoes under the table. Because I had this thought, this is a holy moment. Meaning this is reality. This is reality at its finest. And I believe that this is what's happening right now. Right now is a holy moment because several of you in here are just now deciding to trust Jesus with your life. You're just now deciding to take off your shoes, to eliminate any barrier, to eliminate anything that stands between you and God, and you've decided to just give God everything. Let's bow our heads. And if that's you, if you say, I'm ready to give my life to Jesus, to take off my shoes, to enter into his presence, to be honest, to be humble, and to be present, I want you to repeat this simple prayer. Just say, Jesus, I give you my life. Just say that to yourself. Jesus, I give you my life. And if you prayed that, I just want you to raise your hand so that I can see you, so that I can pray for you. I see you. I see you. I see you, beautiful. Even in the balcony, if you said this prayer and you're saying, Jesus, I give you my life, I want you to just raise your hand so I can pray for you. Everybody else with their eyes closed, head bowed, is a holy moment. I see you. Now I want us to pray. Jesus, thank you. Thank you for loving us just as we are, for accepting us just as we are in this moment. Thank you that you invite us into a relationship with you, God, in spite of our brokenness, in spite of our shame, in spite of our darkness, God. That doesn't scare you. That doesn't pull you away. Quite the opposite, God. You want to draw close to us still. And God, so in this moment, God, we remove our shoes. We remove any barrier between you and us. We thank you for your presence. We thank you for your gift. We thank you for your life. Pray this in Jesus' name. And everybody said, amen. Amen. Can we just thank God for the people that gave their lives?
This is just such a powerful moment. I know so many hands were raised in the room. So many people literally or metaphorically took off your shoes and you decided today is the day that I'm going to step into a relationship with Jesus. It says in the book of Romans that if you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and you believe that he was raised from the dead, that you will be saved. And today, if you said, Jesus, I give you my life, whether you raised your hand or you didn't, you have just entered into a beautiful new chapter. You've made the most important decision of your life today, and we want to be a part of your journey. We have a Bible for you. We have people holding them up in the back, our home team, and we want to give you the scriptures. We want to equip you for this walk with Jesus, but we also want to live this life with you. We want to walk with you. We want to be your community. We want to be there for the questions, for the doubts, for the celebrations, for this wonderful, wonderful next step. So you can scan this QR code up on the screen behind me, get connected to someone, go out to Next Step, meet a member of our home team, come up to anyone that you've seen on stage today, anyone with a lanyard, and just say, tell me more, I want to know more. And I just want to remind you, if you didn't make that decision today, but you felt a prompting in your heart. You felt like God was saying, take off your shoes, take off your shoes, take off the armor, let yourself be vulnerable, be open, be present, just do it. And you weren't feeling quite brave enough. There's something beautiful when we gather here, but it's not magic. You can make that decision any day of the week, anywhere that you are. If you're watching this online, in your car, wherever you are, it's always the right time to take that next step, to cross that line of faith. We can't wait to meet you. We can't wait to see you after this. If you want to host a book club, you can go to mosaic.org, get The Barbarian Way. We have so much coming up as a community, and we want you to stay connected. We love you, Mosaic. It's been a beautiful day, and we'll see you next week.